Hey, hi everyone. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your images before the stream starts and I edit them here for you live using DxO Photolab 9. And we're up to version 9.9 actually. I believe that's the version I'm on. We'll double check, but this is not a critique or judgment or contest. This is simply to show you my photo editing workflow uh, in DxO, which really can be applied to almost any photo editing software, but also to show you the tools in DxO Photolab and how I use them. It's more of a just a sort of watch over my shoulder so you can learn how to use DxO Photolab 9. So it's something I do every week. And if you'd like to support the channel, DxO is running a 20% discount for summer. It's good through, I think, July 10th, but I have my links down below. I am an affiliate for DxO, and it helps support the channel and the work that I do here. And so do that. And if you'd like to support these weekly live streams, you can become a member or make a donation down below. Uh, that's greatly appreciated. So let me just do a quick sound check. Hopefully, I had to restart the stream. Hopefully everything is working well now. Uh, BAMSIM says it's working well. That's good, and good to see you, Jeff and Paul and Glenn and John. If you're here, I did download your photos separately from your email, so that should be here. It's still a little bit out of sync, but I don't know. I don't know what to do about that right now. Let me try one quick thing. There used to be a thing here called advanced settings. I don't need that one. Webcam. Uh, well, anyway, um, we'll just go with it. If it's out of sync, I'll have to figure that out in another stream. Also, the volume looks a little bit low, but we'll just go with it. So let's get started into the editing. And oh, I need to open up Photolab. Sorry, one one more thing I need to do. So a new version dropped this morning, 9.9.150. Oh, I didn't download that one. I looks like, let me see, I'm on 9.9.0 build 712. So I have to download that one after the stream. Okay. Yeah, now it's telling me, remind me later. Okay. All right, let me navigate to the folder we need to be in for the streams. And looks good. I just need to move this window out. Okay. If the speed of the sound and the light were the same, we wouldn't have, yeah, exactly. Uh, where's my, let me move this window over here. And photo, this is the only glitch, I wouldn't call it a glitch, but the only sort of, what do you call it? Friction I have with DxO Photolab is when you first open it up, it takes a long time to load in a folder of images. Uh, so it's been over a minute and it's still loading this particular folder. I don't know if this happens on your computer or not, but definitely on mine. When I first open up DxO Photolab, it takes a good couple minutes to load the folder of thumbnails. And then once everything's up, it's perfectly fine. So I don't know what the bottleneck is there on my computer, but let me know if that happens on your computer as well. Okay, images are coming up, and let's see. Yeah, I'm down here in the corner. I guess I can reposition the camera a little bit. All right. All right. We'll go ahead and start here. And so we have an elephant. And I did see an email from you, Glenn. I didn't get a chance to read it, uh, which may be a good thing because, I like to do these images kind of like, blind in the sense that I don't have like any kind of influence from seeing your images or uh, your edits, right? But what we like to do sometimes, and you're welcome to do this, is you can upload your version or edit to the photo before you see mine, and then we'll take a look and compare your image to mine. Because a lot of times I like your edits better than what I did. Because my goal here is primarily to again show you the tools in DxO, not so much uh, creative choices that we make. Because a lot of the choices I make, I treat these just like they were my own photo, and I'll make a lot of creative choices and subjective choices that you may not, right? All right. Okay, so let's see. We have an elephant here, and okay. So my workflow is basically I like to apply optical corrections from the DxO Optics module, the denoising, and a tiny bit of sharpening with every image. And I created a preset that you can go to my website and download. It's just robtrek.com. And then you'll see a menu up there for software or down. It's called downloads. You'll see in the top menu, and you'll see DxO presets. And I call it my default preset. So we're going to do that. And also, uh, seriously, okay. So what I like to do is just do apply preset, and I have one here called default. And I also have one called extra sharp, and then one designed for high res shot mode or very high resolution images. This high res shot mode is I have it tuned to the OM system high res shot mode, but I'm sure it'll work well with other high res shot type images in other camera systems. But I did tune these to the cameras that I actually use. Uh, I'm going to go with extra sharp on this one because when you can fill the frame with the subject like we have here, I think the extra sharp preset works pretty well. And I can always back it off manually in the tools menu over here. But we're going to start with that. And then I just look at the overall exposure, white balance, and composition, geometry, more specifically. So if I need to straighten any horizons or crop in to isolate the subject more, because that's kind of my style. I like to fill the frame with the subject usually, and then and then balance, like balance bright and dark, balance weight in terms of like if we have a giant boulder on the left side and nothing on the right side, it'd be kind of heavy on the left side, right? So I look at all these things, and this is already cropped in nice and tight, so I don't think I need to crop in anymore. Although I do see some options there. And the horizon looks straight. The elephant is not crooked or off center, meaning he's not tilted in the frame, which would be a creative choice in a lot of cases. But in this case, you decided to just shoot them vertical, perfectly straight. So that's good. And I'm just going to kind of peek in here and just, I'm thinking about other compositions. I'm thinking really tight right in here. I kind of like the idea of this, these two husks though. one being kind of broken, maybe even something like this. So I'm kind of leaning in towards going this left corner. And then I like to use just simple rule of thirds to kind of balance the image. That's a good starting point typically. I think something like this. Uh, a nice tight shot. Okay, maybe just, let's see, a little bit less on the right side. It just feels a little bit out of balance here. Yeah, that feels better. It just felt a little bit too dark on this right side. Okay, and this kind of gives me the impression of going black and white as well, but I think I like the color version. The white balance has a little bit too much magenta in it for me. Um, so I'm gonna just drop it on the elephant somewhere where I think it's gonna be the most neutral. Let me see where we're at. Yeah, we have a 46 on the magenta, so I'm just gonna back that off a bit and then add just a tiny bit more warmth. Okay. All right. And then I want to highlight these greens here and maybe brighten the eye up just a tiny bit and the husk and then darken the skin just a little bit selectively, to emphasize the shadow and maybe try to create some depth. So from here, because the overall exposure is fine, but I'm just gonna see if I pull the exposure way down. Yeah, that's not helping me because the image is relatively flat. There's not like a ton of highlight and shadow except right here on the right side. So I want to kind of balance the shadows here with the shadows on the left side a little bit. So I think I'll just do control points and let's select sort of a mid-tone area, maybe about here. And I'm going to just pull in like this. And whenever I'm using the selective tone, I like to try to keep a straight line, which on the back end or kind of makes a nice S curve to whatever area that you're trying to adjust. Now I'm going to tighten up the luminosity mask a bit because it is a relatively flat image. So I don't want to affect areas, outside of, because if I show the mask, the luminosity was originally getting a little bit too much of the tusk and other areas because it is relatively flat. And you can kind of see it in the histogram too. It's not there's a spike here, which is this shadow area over here. But other than that, there's only a tiny bit of bump there. So there. So I'm going to tighten the mask up about right there, and you can see the difference right there. And then I'll just drop the same uh, control point in different areas. Maybe create sort of a little vignette down here. Uh, Move this down because I kind of like the wrinkles. Maybe a brush would be better down in this area, but let's go with this for now. Let me get rid of that one. Okay, I'm gonna move this over just a bit. Okay. All right, I think that looks pretty good. All right, let me do the eye. So I'm going to create a new mask. I'm just going to come in here, be a little tighter on the luma. Let's just brighten up this area in here. Add some clear view, little micro contrast. Now, I'm getting a little bit too crispy here, so I'm going to back off some of the sharpening. Let me turn off the intensity here, maybe the unsharp mask. Yeah, so let's back off the unsharp mask a bit. That feels a little better. Okay. All right, so let me see where I'm at. Okay, I'm going to go back to these control points. Just back this one off a bit. Okay, another thing I'm going to do to this particular group of control points is I'm going to cool it off a bit on the white balance. And then I'm going to go back to my global color settings here and push the white balance a little bit more. So I want to create a little more contrast on the white balance as well. I'm just eyeballing it to taste here. Okay. All right, that looks good. Now, I want to emphasize this tusk a little bit, and then again, back to your greens. So let me see, let's make a new mask, and let's see if I can use the auto selection mask to just try and grab the leaves. Like so. All right, that might be what it is. So let me know if we're still live, because I turned off this VPN thing, but I don't know if that's going to mess up the streaming. But it looks like I lost half of you because of the buffering and stuff. So maybe refresh your browser and see if this works. Ugh, can't believe it. I thought I uninstalled that stupid thing. So we are still live and everything looks okay. Is it still buffering? All right, so we'll go back. Let's go to the next image and let's see. It looks like a cormorant, and I'm gonna hit the F9 key to pull my panels in. And Okay, so yeah, it's a little bit underexposed and we may crop in depending on what things look like. So I'm going to use my default preset here and let's just push the exposure a bit. Okay, all right. I think we're okay. It's just a slight miss on the focus here. So I like this background though. It's pretty interesting, but we need to think of a composition that I'm wondering maybe up here or just a little tighter. But you're kind of eye level with this bird, it looks like. I mean, we can always do front and center. Yeah, I'm just gonna do front and center. All right. So I added 1.5 stops here. I'm gonna go ahead and select the bird with the AI tool. We're just gonna add some more light onto the bird, like so. And I'm gonna add another half a stop that way and see if I can pull in half a stop this way. And then let's go into around the eye and just make that a little brighter so it stands out more. Maybe add a little bit of clarity and micro contrast. And then let me see if I can just sharpen this. I'll probably have to use go back to the bird mask and just try to make it look sharper. If that helps a little. Go back to this area in here. Let me just temper the highlight right here a little bit. Um, Maybe give it a little more color. Cormorants, this area is usually a little bit more orange, I think. I'm just going to give it a slight push this way. Okay, then I'm going to add a vignette and then we're done. So new layer, control point, we'll invert that, turn the chroma and luma to 0, and then just pull in the vignetting. Just the taste here. Let's see how that is. Yeah. Okay, let's do a side by side. So there's the original image on the left, and this is the edit image on the right. And you know, we just misspoke. All the settings look good, other than being a little underexposed, but the settings look pretty good. Uh, Basically, we just missed the focus a tiny bit, which is understandable because the light levels are pretty low. Uh, and we'll do a little slider here just to see how much difference we made here. But yeah, I think it came out okay considering what we started with. Um, very nice. All right, let's go to the next one here. That was from William, and ah, good variety of wildlife today. Here from Martin, I think. Let's see. Looks like you shot through glass, or this is a stick that's in front of you. But we'll be able to mitigate this quite a bit, I think, in processing. So let's start with a basic preset, and I'm just going to crop in off the bottom left, like so. I'd like to get a little bit off the top, maybe maybe right there. Right, this corner, maybe right there. Okay, and I think just a little bit of clear view, kind of spread out right in here would work. Uh, so let me try that. I'll just use a brush, and we have flow at 13, opacity. Let me crank that up and just kind of do that. Let's crank up the clear view and micro contrast a bit. We need a little bit more there, a little more in there, a bit there. A little bit over here. Might even have to just adjust the tone a little bit. Okay, that's good enough. Oh, a little bit here too. And I think from here I can just do kind of a global, more of a global clear view setting. So let me go back to the light panel and just set that there. Okay, good. Uh, let me fix this one spot. Let me look at this mask again. Yeah, so I'm gonna just add a little bit in here to the control point. This is really bugging me right in here. Maybe back off the Luma a bit. Hmm. No, if that's really making enough difference. Yeah, a little bit. Okay, uh, let's add a little bit of warm light in here. So I'm going to use a control line and I'm going to feather it about like that. Maybe move in a little closer. And then I'm going to pick kind of the lighter area here for the masking. We'll tighten up the luma a bit. And I'm just going to add a little bit of warmth. Back off. Luma. I don't need it to adjust by chroma. I'm turning off the chroma mask and I'm just going to use the luma mask. Okay. All right. Sure. Yeah, that looks good. Mhm. So I'm going to crank this up quite a bit. And then let me try and cool off the image this way. So we're 14:0. Just pull this back. No, that's not looking too good. Let me do that dot. Something's not looking too good here. We'll do 6,000, but let's just add a little bit more light. Okay. And then pull back just on a global basis a little bit. Add another control line. This time I want to just focus on the darker areas. Maybe come this way. Oops, I need to make a new mask. So new mask, control line. And pick a dark spot and turn the chroma off and just tighten this up a bit. That, maybe pull the white balance down a tiny bit. Go back to the global. I need this to be a little bit warmer. A little less magenta. Okay. Let me see where we're at here. Yeah. Let me go back to my control line. think I'll just spot I think I'll just spot check these with a control point. So I'm just going to temper the highlights there a bit. And here, and here. On the color, I'm going to try some different profiles here. Let's see, vibrant looks good. I like vibrant. Vivid, no. Portrait. Oh, I like portrait too. Portrait 2 versus portrait 3. I think I'll go with portrait 2. Then this control line again, let's just push this up a little bit. Okay. All right, we're going to call it there. Uh, so there's the image on the left. Sorry, I got to check something. Yeah, we're okay. Uh, so just a little bit of a crop. Like, I don't think we really needed this. And just right in here looks good. This beam of light, it, I can't tell if that's like maybe lens flare or maybe shooting through a glass from this, when I look at it this way, it looks a little bit like lens flare. Uh, but either way, I've kind of pretty much eliminated it here. And I think that came out pretty good. So we'll call it there. We can do just a split view compared to with geometry. Yeah, that's a lot better without that flare. And I just use the clear view. Now, the other thing is, if we wanted to incorporate that flare into the image, um, if I hide this, let me duplicate this mask. I'll hide this one. But for this, we would do kind of the opposite, right? And the clear view, let's turn that off. I'll have to spread this out a little bit. So I could try to incorporate that flare a little bit that way, but I didn't start that way, so I'm not going to go back. But I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of some options with the same image. If it is lens flare, and a lot of images do have lens flare, I like to actually accentuate that sometimes as a creative choice. When I saw this, I initially thought it might have been glass, like shooting through a piece of glass, but now I feel like more like it's a lens flare. But okay, let's go to the next one. And the beautiful hawk here. So let's apply a default preset, and I'm definitely going to crop in a bit, and I'm going to do a little bit of a, maybe a vertical, just to incorporate this branch leading into the frame. And then just do a little bit of a horizon tilt. Hmm. All right. I'm going to darken the image because it's the background's way too bright, right? So let's just pull it in about a stop, and then we might locally adjust this area again. And let me select the bird. So use the AI tool. Let's see if it just grabs it. Yeah, it's grabbing it. And then we'll just add a little bit of light in this way. Get a little bit of extra warmth. We'll do that to the entire image, add a little warmth. So again, my workflow is, optical, denoise, composition, white balance, and exposure. So I've kind of gone through those steps. Now I'm just going to work on local adjustments to highlight the areas I think are the most interesting. So let's just do the eye real quick. So I'm going to put the control point right on the color part of the eye, and then we'll just add some clear view and micro contrast. And I'm going to move this up a bit and out. Okay. So that makes a big difference. Maybe add a little bit of warmth. That's too much for a local spot. Like where were we at? 61. Let's add about 1,000. And let's brush in a little bit of warmth in here, and here, here. Just a little extra warmth like this. Well, my flow is really low, so let me just add a couple of more strokes. All right, good. And a little bit right in here. And here, wherever there's light, basically. And I'll do a separate one for that. Let me just use a control point. This area in here, just a little tighter on the luma, and a little bit of warmth in there. Into the highlights just a bit. Midtones. All right, let me go over here globally. Let's brighten this back up a little bit. No, need to temper back to the bird. Let's add a little more push on the bird. Give it a little clear view and micro contrast. Hmm. One more clear view. And then where's that brush I used? This one. Let's see what the mask looks like. Need a little more warmth, just a little bit more in here. Add a little clear view to that too. All right. Question is, do I really need this whole trunk? I don't think so. I think I can crop in quite a bit more. Maybe get rid of that highlight. Okay. A little light back in. Just going to do some global changes. Uh, just a little pull there. A little bit of clear view. And a couple of drops here. A little bit in here. And this brush, I still need to add some more warmth. Okay, I'm going to call it there. So let's see. There's the original on the right, and that's my edit I'm sorry, the original's on the left and my edit on the right here. So pretty heavy crop. I think the vertical crop works pretty well. Let me just fix this one thing. I don't like this really strong highlight there. So let's let's just pick another area here. All right, I kind of overdid it there, but okay. And then we'll do a slider or split view with geometry here. And I think that looks pretty good. So we got rid of a lot of the noise and brought a lot of the details back. I think that looks pretty good. All right. Um, go to the next one. And if anybody has any questions, comment, feedback, you can go ahead and leave them in the chat section. I'll try and answer or address any of those after I edit this one. So this one here is from Jeff. And we'll do an extra sharp on this one. And let me just do a slight horizon. I just like the bird to feel a little bit more level. And then crop wise, maybe a square crop. So I think a vertical is going to be too tight. Yeah, let's try 5 by 4 maybe. Oh, that works. 'Cause then we get a little bit of these berries or whatever is up here. And I'm gonna go ahead and select the bird. I'm gonna add a little bit here, about a half a stop. And then I'm gonna take a half a stop off the entire image, like so. And then let me go back to the bird. We're gonna crank up the, let's try vibrance and a little bit extra saturation. And I think that bird could do with some micro contrast. Oh, no, 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 no. Maybe some clear view. I'll back off the micro contrast a bit. Get in here. And I can see an iris here, so I'm going to try and bring that out. Just do a control point here. Again, I'm going to put the dropper right on the brownest part of the iris and try and bring that out. And some clear view and micro contrast. All right, good. Maybe a little bit more there. We'll do the same for the beak. You know, whenever I do birds, it's always eyes, beak, talons, and then feather detail is kind of last. Let's use a masking brush. I also like the beak to be kind of shiny and punchy. So we'll just do that. Okay. All right, I think just a little vignette and we're done. So make a new mask, pull a vignette in over here. So we reverse the control point, set the chroma and luma to 0, and then I like to use selective tone to just bring in the vignette, and then we will, I could use maybe, what would complement that yellow? I guess a little cooler. Mm, let's see. We went a lot warmer, just a little warmer. How about magenta? No, we're okay. Just a little bit warmer, and it's not doing it. Let me just do a global pull here. All right, we'll call it there. So there's the original on the left. Um, so I think this vertical 5 by 4 works pretty well. Yeah, a square might have been better, a square crop, because there's a little bit too much headroom up here for me. Um, and then some saturation and bringing out the iris. And then let's check the fine details here. So I'm going to go back to width geometry and just check that. Check the fine details. Yeah, I think that came out pretty good. All right, let's do this one. And oh, I've seen this building before. Um, let's apply just the default preset, and I'm going to go right to perspective. Now, particularly with architecture, any kind of architecture, you have to really make all the geometric changes you want to make first. Now, I naturally try to make the line straight, vertical, eliminate any kind of skewing and keystoning. So if I just click on perspective here with the auto set, it usually does a pretty good job. It's not perfect, but not bad. In this case, I think it did a good job. And then from here, we have different elements, right? We have some foliage, we have this pond, and then brick. So it's almost monochromatic because we only have two colors, right? Red and green. Well, there's some blue. But I'm wondering what this might look like. Yeah, monochromatic I like. So I might, let me start with color. I can always convert it at the end. I'm going to just start working with color. Uh, so let me just take some of the low hanging fruit. Well, composition wise, let me give this some more thought because not I'm not sure why it's cut off here. If there was something here that was distracting, but uh, since this is cut off, we have this bench here, which is really tight. So this window and this bench are kind of a problem. So we can maybe come in here, and move up. I don't want to crop in on that window too much either. We have a reflection in here, which I might be able to work with. Oh, maybe a little bit more up the left. So we have mostly here in the midground. I'm gonna go with this. Um, Now what I'm thinking is to bring out the texture on the brick, darken the water to highlight the reflection. And then there's a person here, so maybe we'll um, highlight that as well because the light is really strong right here. So we need to let me just work on the water first. And see if I can bring out that reflection a bit. Okay. Uh, and then let's see. I want to temper the highlights right in here because the light's really strong here. So I think a control point would be okay. So I'm going to pick the brighter part in here. And yeah, that's a good size. Let's see if we can just pull the highlights in a bit. So uh, that's not bad. Try a little bit more. And a little bit of clear view and micro contrast. So when I pulled this in, I lost a little bit of contrast. Okay, so where are we at here? Good. And then windows and doors are always important as well. Let me try this auto brush. See if I can bring this door out a little bit. Oh, the door is open, it looks like. Yeah, that's fine. And some clear view and micro contrast in there. Let's make a new brush for the windows. And I don't try to be exact with this when I'm highlighting things. You just have to get a feel for just to get a little bit of a accent to the windows and panels and everything. We'll push up the highlights and midtones a bit, pull in the blacks. Okay, that's good. And maybe some clear view. Yeah, micro contrast. I'm going to make a new mask. I'm going to temper the highlight here because this is really strong over in here. Listen. All right. I really want this area to be darker. I think the best way to go about it is, let me go over here. Yeah, I'm just gonna just pull in, just I have to stop to start. And just select the building on this side, clear view and micro contrast. And then, ooh, work this wall. Do a shift. So we're still on mask 6. Let's do shift, click there, here, and maybe here. So that's looking good. A little bit in here. And I'm going to see if I can do a negative there. No, why didn't that work? All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, I'm going to try and just separate the tones a little more. I may have to go back and fix the water. Back. Water is one of the first things I did, right? Go back here. that off. And I had another control point here. Let me warm this up a bit. Pull back the luminosity. Um, I'm gonna add. Oops, I didn't want that. Uh, if I just adjust the opacity a bit. Okay. All right. Let me go back to my building. It's making it so dark. Is it the clear view? I don't really want the highlights. Mm, Luminance back up. And then let me temper the highlight on this guy a little bit. Oh, my buildings again. Let's just adjust the white balance a little bit. And the front of this building, let's see, maybe better to just use a different kind of mask. Let's try the AI. If I can get just the front. No, it's not letting me. So let's do the masking brush. Just gonna warm that up a bit more. Okay, almost there. Let's see the black and white. Oh yeah, I like that. So I'm gonna go with black and white. That's the neutral, faded, balanced. I'm gonna go with balanced. All right. Uh, and I guess let's look at the color first, right? Um, there's a before and after with the color version. What the heck is that? Anyway, there's a it was just a really bright scene, so I was just trying to temper it a little bit. But I think even by darkening it as much as I did, it still doesn't feel like it's maybe it feels a little too dark, but I think it's okay. I just wanted to bring out the contrast between the light and the shadow. So I warmed up the brighter areas and then I cooled off, the shadowy areas. And I also like to bring out texture and brick. So clear view and micro contrast, just like it does for animal eyes and like the iris in an animal's eye. Uh, I think that same technique works well with the bricks and roof. But I really like the way the black and white looks. And a lot of times I find when I edit in color and I get everything I want in the color version right, usually I can flip it to black and white and it still looks fine. So a lot of times I do prefer, uh, because I would when I started this edit, I did feel like black and white might work. Um, but I edit in color and I just converted to black and white at the end. So I think because I just had that idea from the beginning. Now, but I wasn't sure. If I was sure it was going to be a black and white, and then I would have started with a black and white edit. That's just my personal preference of doing it. But when I'm not sure, I always edit in color first and then just convert it to black and white. And usually that looks pretty good as is. So there we go. And I think eliminating this window here and cutting off, you know, this bench, because it's a little bit too tight to the edge here once I did my perspective corrections. I think that eliminates any distractions over here on the right side. Um, but okay, let's go to the next one. All right, some kind of sport. So immediately I see a horizon thing going on. But let's apply the default preset. Let's just straighten the horizon right off the bat. Maybe I'll just use this horizon tool. The fence line looks pretty straight. Oh, there's a bench there. We know that should be straight. So we'll use that. Because the fence, since it's on a hill, it may not be straight. That's pretty close. All right. Um, and then I'll just eyeball it a little bit. There we go. Close enough. It's a little strong here, the highlight, but that's okay. And we have we have a line here. I'm trying to see if I can get a triangle in. Maybe with this, or we'll crop that out. This bench is a problem. And these cars in the background don't really matter. This is called cricket. Okay, thank you. I'm not really a sports guy, so I I think let's do a 3 by 2. And that guy can be all the way in the right corner. I really want this guy to be and the ball. It's just a little bit heavy on the right side because this guy is here. So if I can bring it down, I think that works. Okay. Uh, let's just use a control line and just try to balance the exposure a bit. Mm, Let's start from the top. Mm, What if we do it this way? I think that looks a little better. All right. I think this is John Follows because there's no name here, so I think this might be John's. Um, just not sure I'm capturing the energy in this scene. I'm gonna experiment a bit over here. All right, that feels a little better. And let me add a little bit light face in here. And let's get this ball a little brighter. Actually, the right pool would, well, no, let's do that. That works. Brighten that up a little bit. And maybe brighten up the stick or paddle. Get a little bit more vibrance. Uh, let's see if I can add in this yellow part. No, that's too much. So we have the paddle, the ball, the face. So these three things are the most important things I think in this scene. Maybe even blur the background a little bit. So let me see if I can manage that. It's a little bigger ask, but we can try. If I select, yeah, let's do it with the rectangle tool. This, and then throw that in. Let me think. I don't do this very often, so I may have to rearrange things. So let's come down to about here. And we'll make it a little bit more gradual because you're a little bit higher up. You're more eye level with this person. So being higher up, that's why I'm kind of moving this up a little bit and spreading it. Let's add some blur. Might need to spread. Oops, wrong one. Need to maybe spread this a bit more. Right there. Too much. If I just start at the eye level. Yeah, I think that works. Start right here at eye level. And then not blur quite as much. Like that. Oh, why is it up there? I want this to be inside mask 5. Let me move it back down. And then I'm going to hole punch that one and that one. Oops, I can't do 2 hole punches. Let me get rid of that one. Move this down. Sorry, this is very confusing. It's like I'm not getting the, so it's there, or should it be up here? All right, there we go. So I have to put the graduated filter, the blurry part, underneath the mask of the Cricut player here. And also, I have to hole punch, or what do they call it? They call it the invert shape of the AI mask. I can't use two at the same time, unfortunately. So, yeah, okay. Meaning two AI masks. Otherwise, it's going to invert both, like the ball here, but I think that's okay. So I think that works pretty well. So let's go ahead and call it there. All right. So I'm not really a sports action guy, or human sports, I should call it. So I'm not, it, everything I'm doing here is relatively new to me when I think about composition and emotion or mood in the scene. It's very different for human sports than it is, say, for wildlife. But I did the best I can. And what I wanted to do is separate the subject, this cricket player, hitting the ball and making sure that the key elements, his eyes, his face, the bat, and the ball, were all clearly in the scene, and then minimizing everything else. So yeah, obviously we don't need the parking lot, and this was very distracting. I would have brushed that out if I had to end up keeping it. Like if it was over here, I'd have probably brushed it out. One other thing I might do is brush out this piece right here. Speaking of brushing things out, let me get rid of that. Okay. So there's my edit. All right, very nice shot. Again, I think this is John's image. All right, an air show. I just went to an air show myself last week. Wow, look at that. Um, so I feel like a slight shift. Let's see if there's room. Let me apply default preset, and I feel like it needs to be just shifted a little bit this way. And then let's try 5 by 4. Oops, 5 by 4. Like so. It's a little bit tight, but we didn't have a lot of room up here anyway, so I'm just trying to balance all the edges. So the spacing on the left and right, top and bottom. Okay. Um, I definitely want to brighten the planes and then add a little drama to the sky. So let's use the AI tool and let's just start with this one, and I'm holding the shift key as I'm selecting each jet here. So you'll see I have 4 masks within this particular layer. And let's just brighten those up like so. Maybe add some clear view and micro contrast and a little bit of warmth. But these planes should be gray, I think. What if I eyedropper this thing? Oh no, I should eyedropper the cloud in there. That's fine. And then we'll do the same thing for the red planes. So make a new mask, and I'm going to try and just select them with the rectangle tool and see if I have any luck. Yeah, that works. And then I'm going to do a shift and do that. I probably could use the rectangle tool down here. But okay, that works. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll just kind of brighten the highlights, start with the highlights and midtones, and then the shadows. Okay, let's make a new mask. Let's select the sky. So we'll use the pointer tool and add some clear view, just a little bit, and some micro contrast. And let's just give it a little bit more contrast that way. I think that's all that needs to be done. Let me just look at my composition a bit. Yeah, I think this is the composition I would go with. Where are we at? 1/1000th. Okay, because there's a tiny bit of motion blur. Typically, I would shoot this at least 1/2000th, but I found 1/3000th, just like with birding. Even though you can pan and capture these, I find anything less than 1/2000th, I always get a tiny bit of motion blur in these shots. But okay, I think that's it. So here's the original on the right, which I would argue I probably didn't need to crop in as much as I did, because this is a nice composition as it is with the planes all lined up. I just wish there was a little more headroom here. So what I might do is like if I took it into Photoshop, I would just add some sky up here at the top, uh, and then maybe keep this 3 by 2 composition. But all I really need to do is brighten up the planes and just add a little bit of contrast in the sky. Um, let's do a split view and see. I'm going to change this back to with geometry and just see if we were able to pull in. Yeah, that definitely looks a lot better than these red planes. Even though there's a little bit of motion blur, I think they came out fine. All right. Uh, Last but not least, let's customize this. We got one here from John Gavin. Okay, definitely need a slight horizon tilt. And also, I noticed there's a little arrow down here that I need to click on to download the optic module. So I click on that. So we have a 5D4. Oh, I haven't seen one of those in a while. Okay. So let's go ahead and apply a basic preset or default preset. And this composition, I'm going to straighten it just a bit. I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm just using this line right here. I think that's about right. And I do perspective. Yeah, there we go. Just a slight correction there. Let me come back. So this is really strong, the light down here. And then we have some really strong highlights in here. So what I might do is just crop out this bottom part. Let me just see how bad the composition gets if I do that. Uh, let's try 5 by 4. Okay, I think that works. Um, so I'm going to select, let me try this rectangle tool. That's fine. Brighten them up about a half, pull this back about a half. Well, let's go down one stop. No, let's stick with a half. And I'll use these, I know I'm clipping the highlights a bit. Let me try this way. Some clear view and micro contrast, a little warmth. Hmm. And we'll just work on the individual eyes real quick. Now, in this case, I don't have really enough pixels to deal with the iris. But I just want to brighten up the face a little bit, right around the eye, if I can. This one's looking a little unnatural. Move this one down. Well, there is a tiny bit of eye stuff I can do. Mm, I think that one's a little distracting. That last one I did. Maybe if I move it up a little. No, let's just get rid of it. All right. Okay, we're almost there. A little bit too much there. Let's tighten this up. Good, good. Just tuning, fine tuning these. And then I'm going to add a little color to the legs. Mm, Let me just lift this off a little bit. Let me try the legs. If I just do, yeah, I'll just add some saturation. Maybe a bit too much. Let's see. Okay, let me go back to this original control point. This needs to be not so strong in the shadows. All right, and then bring this down a bit. All right. I think that's all I can do there. All right, so pretty tight crop. I mean, I cropped out half the image, mostly because this was very strong down here. And of course, I just kind of watch my line down here in the corner to bring us into the frame. And then I brighten up the subjects here, the seagulls, ideally so that they stand out a little more, but don't look like they're cut and paste into the scene. And because they are still, the light is, I guess, it's relatively low uh, down here because you can see that there's heavy shadows all back in here. But anyhow, I've had to use a lot of different tools there. So let's do a split view. Now, most of the detail is going to be right here on this bird in the middle, like the feather detail, the eye, etc. Then the other ones are off, on a different focal plane, right? So they're going to be out of focus. And I wasn't worried about these two birds because they're very dark anyway. So I just made them part of the background. But the main thing I wanted to do is just brighten up a little bit in the face and then bring out a little bit of texture in the background. But I think that looks okay. All right, so let's see what else has come in. And meaning, did you guys send in your own edits? I see Heather's here. Hey, Heather, says you sent your edit in too. Okay. Let me pull up, oops, let me pull up that folder and download. There's a frog. It's a JPEG. And then download this. And download. Looks like Paul sent one in. Here's edit. Okay. Uh, so let's start with Paul. We'll set that as a reference and we'll compare that to mine. Oops. Oh, that's uncanny that you cropped exactly the same way I did here on the right, except you did keep your corner better. Uh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that over here. Yeah, a little darker water, good reflection. So you actually did a tighter crop. And this has a really overwhelming, sort of vintage style to it because it's very warm, very warm. But yeah, it's a nice edit. I mean, I don't know if I can adjust mine or not. That'd have been my color version versus your color version, right? And you also did it, looks like a 16:9 crop. So a little bit different there. Okay. And then I thought I saw one other one. This one here is another raw image. Okay. So maybe that's for next week. Next week I'll try and highlight these sun rays, right? So we'll keep that in for next week. And then this one here is new. This one's a JPEG, so it doesn't look like it's been edited though. So we'll try this. Um, oh, it's a focus stack. I see. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, the focus stacked images are JPEG in the OM system cameras. All right. Yeah, this can be easily. So we're gonna do the same default preset, and let's see. I think I think we're okay on composition. All I need to do is really just darken the background. So if I select the lizard, let's let's add about a little over a half a stop and pull this in. And then I'm gonna duplicate this mask. So let me plus new mask, duplicate, and put that up there. Let's just invert it. And we don't really have any white balance control because it's a JPEG. So we'll have to mitigate that a little bit with control points maybe. Now, let's see. I can add a little warmth. this way. Just gonna add a tiny bit like that. And then let's just make a little heavier vignette towards the front of this creature. Oops, not that button. Invert. And then we'll do the same thing. So I'm gonna go back to the lizard and just maybe just give him a little bit more drama. Ah, I can change his color. I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to add a little warmth. Just a tiny bit of warmth like that. So I'm just using the color wheel to shift all the colors. Um, but you see a lot of people do this, right? They change the color of the subject. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to add a tiny bit of warmth. So that's good. And inversely, I can select this mask because we don't have our white balance sliders because it's a JPEG. Inversely, I can do this and just shift it. I don't think I need to though. It looks okay. And then we'll add a couple of just a couple of control points. Just add a little bit of texture into the foreground. I think that one needs a separate one. There's a little bit of red on the bottom of this guy. Let's see if we can enhance that. Let me make a new mask. I want a little bit of texture in here. There. No, not there. A little bit here though. I'm gonna darken this one a little bit. Mm, and let's see if we can enhance the reds a little bit in here. So we'll just select red and just push that. Okay. Might be a little bit of an iris in the eye as well. Let's see if we can get in there. A little bit. We have to do a little bit more pushing than normal. And let's push the orange and yellows. Okay. Uh, so this green is a little bit too strong for me, so I'll just drop a control point here. Oops. Make a new mask, a control point. Select the greens and let's just pull the luminance, not that much. Hold on. Just a tiny bit here and here. Okay, let me go back to my vignette. It's this one. Come in tighter. Select this one. So I'm just trying to create some depth. Yeah, that's cool. All right, we'll call it there. All right, so that's editing a focus stack JPEG, and I did a lot of different things there, right? The color shifting was kind of the most uncommon thing I do. Uh, so that's kind of new in this particular stream because I don't do that very often. And yeah, we don't see too many images, focus stack JPEGs coming in either. So it's a couple of new things for this stream, but I like how it came out. So let's just do a slider. And there's not really any kind of additional detail that we can extract, but we can kind of pixel peep it and see. But the main thing was I did add a little bit to the iris there. We were lucky there was enough light into the iris to bring that out. But yeah, so there you have it. It's probably just warm up the image tad. Maybe a vibrant, and a slight warmth, and a little bit of pullback on the greens here. A little bit more warmth. Anyway, there you go. Uh, awesome. So sorry about the streaming issues. I didn't I thought I uninstalled that freaking VPN thing. I was testing something out and it didn't work. So uh, but it somehow when I reboot the computer, the VPN turned back on. I need to uninstall it completely somehow. But anyhow, thanks everyone for pushing through all of those technical difficulties. Hopefully that won't be the case this Sunday. So I'll be back on Sunday for a regular live stream. And again, don't forget my affiliate links down below. Also, it's Prime Day, so go to robtrek.com/deals to get the latest deals on Amazon, particularly if you're here in the US. And I guess that's it. Thanks everyone for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed those edits and also some of the tools I use. You got a feel for different things because every week you never know what we're going to use, and every week I end up doing something kind of new that I hadn't done in streams in the past. So uh, that's always fun and exciting for me. So thanks again, and I hope to see you guys all again